Hi everyone, it's so nice to see so many of you, some people that are new. Thanks so much for coming to our event here today. My name is Dr. Theresa Trimmel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a lecturer here in the Department of Film and Television at the University of Bristol. And I'm very excited to start our event here today about how to become a social media content creator. And as many of you know, this event is part of a new unit that we offer here in the Department of Film and TV, which is called, it's a unit that is called Social Media Content Creation, which is a unit where we, on the one hand, of course, discuss different social media platforms, and we also discuss the interplay of creativity, screen work, technologies, and everyday life. And when Sarah and I designed this unit, we're really eager to bring someone in who could actually talk about the experience of creating content on almost a daily basis, right? And we were really lucky to get two wonderful guests here today, Henry Kirkwood and Todd Todeschini. And yeah, thank you so much. And I would say let's give them an applause.
Amazing. Okay, so full disclosure, Piers put us onto these two and he said they're fantastic, you should have a look at their sites, see what they're doing. So we did, and just kind of jaw-dropping photography, ridiculously amazing inventiveness and I'd say experimentation on your site, and we'll get into all of that. We will be showing clips and things throughout, okay, so you can really see what they're doing, which is really exciting. But I just thought first we might do a little self-intro. I don't know, did you guys want to, Todd, would you like to just tell them what you do in a nutshell?
What I do now?
Yeah.
So I run a company called Todd's Workshop where we make custom historical weaponry for martial artists and collectors. We also run Todd Cutler, which does sort of a budget version of the same historical weaponry. And then I do YouTube films more or less as a hobby, but it drives business towards the websites. And that is just about history, sort of debunking things, investigating things, finding out about things, anything that I'm particularly interested in, or the comments that I get on the videos lead me towards, really. So I make the videos, put them out and see what happens.
Fantastic. And how about you, Henry?
Yeah, so I'm Henry. I'm a freelance filmmaker. So I primarily do camera operating, also a bit of editing, but at the moment, the industry isn't that great. So I think there's like an opportunity to like get in there in the social media side of things. And so I upload regularly to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok and all that kind of thing, and slowly growing my following, just to mainly grow my followers, but also like pushes some camera opportunity work as well. And then also on the side, I do non-natural history stuff, so just making videos for Woodlands TV. That's pretty much me.
Well, I think we should probably take a little look. We're going to look at kind of a, I apologize for the bad editing, a showreel I put together quickly for Todd in about an hour. But he's got so many good videos on it, was hard to choose from. And then we'll put Henry's one as well. And then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of what you do. There is one thing just to say, probably being responsible here. Please just be careful, okay? The things that are shown in these videos are done by specialists, and you will fully understand this when you see these. Both Todd's and Henry's work, you know, requires planning, expertise, most of the time. So we'll have a little look, and we will be dimming the lights on and off throughout, okay, because otherwise it won't look very good. Let's do the lights first. Okay.
Hi, it's Todd from Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler. And today we have got something really special for you. We are looking at fire arrows. Medieval fire arrows were amazing. Sophisticated, versatile, fearsome, and I would bet far nastier than you can imagine. And today we are going to have a really close look at them. So how they're constructed, where they were used, what they can do, what the fire is like, what the smoke is like. Everything that we can think of in a series of practical tests that we can run for you today.
We know oxidizers were used at the siege of Stirling Castle in 1304 because Edward I wrote to the Exchequer asking for funds to buy saltpetre and cotton fibre for the casting of fire within the castle. And we know he did it with trebuchets. So I would bet he used fire arrows too. Did you hear that? Hi, it's Todd from Todd's Workshop here, and I'm back with Arrows vs Armour 2, and we are going to be shooting this night here.
It's right on the breastplate.
Yeah. Great shooting, Joe. Shot one. Oh,
Oh, I like that. That was good.
yeah. So
Stuck
that
for a minute and then fell.
it looked to me like it went through the mail and into the paddock. Hi, it's Todd from Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here, and I am back with Joe Gibbs.
Hello.
At Stanton Harcourt Manor House, this amazing place that was besieged by a bunch of archers in 1450. Now, we just did a film where we're shooting for distance, and it significantly improved things from shooting up there. But of course, an attacking force is not going to be 300 yards in the distance, they're going to be up close. So we've got crenellations today that we can go and play with. And all those questions we want to know about, can you shoot straight down? Can you shoot over there? Is a crossbow better? Is a longbow better? What are the practical implications of shooting from that very place where they were shooting in 1450? Take it away. Hi, it's Todd of Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here. And today is Shield Day. So we're going to take these lovely pointy arrows by Will Sherman and shoot them at this properly constructed shield and find out that question we all want to know: will hiding behind your shield save you from arrows? That got it. Let's go have a look what we got. Back at the range, these two are M2s, and one of those is an M2, which is definitely into the pork male. So I'm just going to have a look now. So, interestingly, hopefully you can see that. There, we have got the Type 9 from the last round, which is maybe 30 millimeters into the chap's arm. And next to it, hopefully you can just make out inside of it, between the male and the Type 9, is the M2 just poking its nose out. I'm guessing that that is going to be much like the Type 16 in this instance, that it did the guy injury. Certainly he's going to be getting bruising and impact damage from it. Possibly, depending where it lands, maybe a broken arm or something similar. Probably not. I think he would get a shallow but not very significant stab wound and one hell of a bruise. That's what I expect to happen. Would I want that to be me? No way.
So we really would love to understand how you guys got started in, I mean, this spectacular, history of content creation. This is just amazing. Like, you're both doing really different things, just beautiful. Who'd like to kick off? Todd, do you want to kick off? How did you get started in all of this? Because you've had a long and varied career.
Yeah, so I did business studies as a degree, then didn't know what to do next, so went and did masters in product design. At the end of that, I met somebody who did special effects, and I walked straight out of college into a special effects job. Then went and did product design for a bit, because I thought I should do. Didn't like that, so gave that up. Went back to special effects again, and I did that for, 8 years. But there's a full workshop there. So I got into historical reenactment, where I couldn't buy knives and swords and things like that of any quality. So I started making my own at work, and then that became my job, basically, and left special effects. But then there was a friend of mine who was very into websites early on, or relatively early on. So I had a website from about 2001, and he's pushed me all the way. So we effectively founded a YouTube channel together to give product information. And that was all it was ever for. It was just like a online catalog, bit of information, nothing exciting. And then I used to sit down and give my information sitting down. It was all very dull and boring. And then I put a banister in the way of where I sat, so then I had to stand up, and my content became a bit more interesting. And then I became ill, and I got put on steroids, which kind of makes you all very bouncy. And suddenly I realized that actually being excited and passionate, strangely enough, gets you viewers. And so the channel just started doing really well. Monetized it and thought that we'd get like 20p or something. And I think the first month we got like £80. And then it just went up from there. And so suddenly it became something. And it also became evident that it was driving people towards business. So what I can't do is tell you how much money it generates for the business, but what I can do is tell you that it does generate money, that I can. And so that combined, it's kind of become my hobby. So my business is now much bigger than the YouTube, much more important to me. But I don't watch football, I don't do all that stuff. I make weird videos about history.
Amazing. How about you, Henry?
Yeah, so I did a criminology degree for my undergrad.
Oh.
Didn't tell you about that, did I?
No.
And then nothing came of that. Did a few odd jobs here and there. And then I did a building surveying degree. Did building surveying for about 5 years. And then in May 2023, I decided I'm not really enjoying this. So I just decided to jump into wildlife filmmaking. Had no degree, absolutely no experience, no contacts. And so I just thought, well, what's the way for me to try and break into the industry? So I decided to just create a YouTube channel, create an Instagram account and TikTok. And I've managed to grow my following quite well since then. And yeah, so I've been doing it for almost 2 years now.
But you cannot, that wasn't the first time you picked up a camera. I mean, you must have been like filming from young.
No.
No, seriously.
No,
Jeez, don't tell them that. They're doing a whole...
Sorry, yeah, no, I was. No,
It's worthless.
It's not true, it's
no,
not true.
I did stills photography
Yeah.
from quite a young age, since I was 14, something like that. So I knew how to use a camera, but yeah, the first time I bought a video camera was May 2023. So yeah, it's quite recent.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, like, and so I learned everything on YouTube. I didn't take any courses or anything like that, but there's so much information out there on YouTube that to kind of create videos isn't that difficult now. And there's free software out there like DaVinci Resolve, which I'm sure a lot of you use. And you can just create videos for relatively cheap.
Amazing. And can I ask you too, have you, for instance, once you started your YouTube channels, did you have any specific strategies where you say, oh, this is, what I think I need to do in order to get more views? Or did you have any aims or strategies when you started? Or was it really purely just...
No, in that sense, I'm an accidental creator. It's not what I intended to do at all, really. So in many respects, I don't take it particularly seriously. So I don't check the analytics all the time, and I don't try and analyse what I'm doing. I just tend to do what I want to do mostly. Saying that, it really annoys me if I put a film out and it doesn't do well when I think it should. So maybe I should look at the analytics. So no, I'm not really one for strategies like that. You do see trends in what YouTube's trying to make you do. So they push you. I mean, I've been doing it, whatever it is, 12, 13 years or something. So you get fashions in the length of the film that they want, and so that changes, and how often they want you to put content out, that sort of changes. So they push you around a little bit, and you have to try and work within that. But as a grand overall strategy, no. I just kind of do what I want mostly.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What about you, Henry?
Yeah, I have more of a strategy, I think. So I try and focus on wildlife that either hasn't been filmed before or hasn't been filmed much. So generally that's things that are difficult to film. So like peregrines is very difficult because they don't fly much. And so if you were to pay a camera operator for 2 weeks, chances are they wouldn't get like very good shots. So I try to focus on animals that are difficult to film and just put a lot of time into it, because at the moment I've got like time to do that. So yeah, I just pick animals that are difficult to film or rare, put a lot of time into it, and then try and put an edit together as well as I can.
I see. So you were really trying to think about, okay, what would make me as a creator different, right?
Exactly, yeah, exactly that. So like, because I've only just started out, and there's a lot of people that are in my position at the start of their career trying to kind of break in and become established, I think you have to set yourself apart, and I think you do that in a wildlife industry anyway, by filming things in a different way, or things that people haven't filmed yet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Amazing. Well, we're going to watch a video each. I think for you, we're gonna look at an amazing one, a birth of a dolphin.
Yeah.
Which we'll have so many questions. You guys might have so many questions about once you've seen it, but we'll watch that first. And then we've got a trebuchet with 100 darts with you, which is spectacular and terrifying. And my kids were watching it and they were just like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're going to meet this guy. So anyway, they're very exciting. Let me just do this again. Sorry about all the lights and everything, but let's have a watch.
My name's Henry Kirkwood, and I'm a wildlife filmmaker. Join me in my quest to find the best of Britain's most elusive wildlife. It's June in the Hebrides, western Scotland. A busy time of year for all forms of wildlife. The shallows of the sea provide an ideal nursery for small fish in which to feed and grow. And seals to raise their young. Further out to sea, gannets patrol the skies. Hurtling into the water at breakneck speeds in their search for fish. But in deeper waters, a rare, shy, and mysterious creature lurks. Risso's dolphins. A pod of 7, slowly making their way across the bay. Growing up to 13 feet in length, the appearance of these large, unique mammals varies significantly depending on age. Younger individuals are typically dark in colour. Gradually lightening with age. Heavy scarring incurred by social interactions and tussles amongst themselves helps us to identify individuals. They plunge in unison, diving 100 metres down in search of their prey. Before returning to the surface to breathe. The pod moves fast and continues west, hugging the coast. But as the sun sets and darkness creeps in, one individual has been separated from the rest of the pod. And it's behaving strangely. She's given birth to a newborn calf, estimated to be only a few hours old. This is thought to be the youngest Risso's calf ever filmed in the wild. very little is known about these elusive and secretive creatures, and the birth of a dolphin has only ever been observed in captivity. For now, the young dolphin's dorsal fin and tail are delicate, but will strengthen over the next few weeks as it acclimatises to its new surroundings. Encouraging her calf to feed, the mother turns on her back, exposing her mammary glands. The calf will rely on this source of nutritious milk for around 18 months. But the mother and calf are not alone. Another female dolphin, known as an aunt, assisted during the birthing process. Performing midwifery duties to ensure that the newborn reaches the surface to take its first breath. She dives in search of food, leaving them vulnerable at the surface, before returning and checking in on progress. It is likely the aunt is the only other animal the mother will tolerate near her calf during these early stages after birth. The calf's confidence is growing and proudly shows off its newly learned swimming skills with an unexpected burst of energy. Halted abruptly by its mother's swift intervention, driven by her protective nature and maternal instincts. Soon, the three of them will be reunited with the rest of the pod, who will all be eager to greet their newest member. But for now, to successfully navigate through the most vulnerable stage of its life, the calf must trust and rely on the protection of the aunt and the guidance of its mother.
Well done. Well done. Okay, but obviously this is a film and TV department, and so curating a beautiful story is really important. So we have so many questions about this one before we get to Todd's video. First of all, the practical stuff. Tell us how long you were there, how long it took you to film, what you filmed with.
Yeah, so that was in Scotland. I was probably on the island. It was on the west coast of Scotland, so it's called the Isle of Coll. I was there for a week, and I spent that week on the headland, basically just looking out to see whales and orca and that kind of thing. I didn't see orca, but one thing I didn't mention on that video is how rare those dolphins are. I don't think I quite got it, the point across. So they're only seen 10 times a year, and then when you do see them, they dive so deep because they hunt like cuttlefish. So to actually see them at the surface like that is really rare. It was pretty much all filmed with a drone, and yeah, I mean.
And did you know they were going to be there, that there were going to be sightings, or did you just kind of chance your arm to go off?
Chance, yeah. So this is what kind of relates to what I was saying earlier, in that if you spend enough time looking for rare species, I wasn't specifically looking for Risso's dolphins, but you will see something, and it's just very difficult for like, so if say the BBC wanted to say we want to film Risso's dolphins, like they couldn't because
Yeah.
they just pop up anywhere and they're so rare. So yeah, it's just good that I spent that amount of time and was quite lucky that we saw them.
Okay, so obviously you're filming with a drone. I mean, anyone who here has filmed with a drone knows battery life. Were you like just watching your monitor going, just blast the battery, my God. I was just feeling nervous even just watching it. I was like, come on.
Yeah, because it was about half a mile out as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was constantly watching it.
And the wind had to be,
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
the other thing. So like anyone that knows Scotland, it's windy the majority of the time, and that day was 0 miles an hour for the whole day. So that helped in spotting them. So yeah, like the stars aligned on that day really, and yeah, got my battery down to about 5%, but
thank
just about
God, I
got it
just
back.
no plop in the water on the way back.
I was worried
And,
about that.
and can I ask you then, so once you got the footage and you had it all, how did you go about writing the script? Because it's a story, it's a proper beginning, middle, end, which I know I'm sometimes annoying about saying about beginning, middle, end, but like it is a proper story. It's not just a clip.
Yeah, so in the first instance, I actually spoke to my friend who's like given me quite a lot of advice about like what to do with footage and that kind of thing. So I pitched it to Blue Planet 3, but they had already kind of got their picture lock, so they didn't take it. And then if they wanted it, I just wouldn't have put it out on my YouTube because they wouldn't have licensed it otherwise. And then yeah, I just collated all the footage, chopped it up into like an order that I thought might work, and then just did the narration after that. But it took a lot of kind of revisions to make it make sense.
Oh my God. I mean, it's beautiful. And the choice of music?
It was very.
I hope people like it because people online have been destroying it.
Have they?
Yeah.
So they were not okay, or they didn't like the music, or.
Why not? It's beautiful. What is it? Do you know? Do you remember off the top of your head what it is?
So there's like 4 or 5 different tracks.
Okay.
But I wanted to give it kind of a emotional
Yeah.
vibe instead of like a fast-paced vibe. So yeah, I think I just went for like cello and piano, which seems to be the right kind of fit for that sequence.
And also, I just thought the pacing was really, not I'm just like brave is the wrong word, but I mean, there's a tendency on social sometimes to go fast on everything. And it seemed like you really held back and you allowed every shot to breathe, and which is, not always the case for social media. They don't always allow us because people just change.
That's it. And like, I think that's why it will do well for YouTube, but not for TikTok or Instagram necessarily. Because you're right, it's too slow. And like people will just see a slow dolphin and they'll be like, next.
Slow dolphin.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And can I ask you, because you just said you're obviously on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, so do you obviously have different strategies for different platforms?
Not really, no. So what I tend to do is make a video for YouTube,
Okay.
and then that'll be like the long form, like 10 to 15 minutes, and then cut it up into the sections that will work well on Instagram. So yeah, I don't go out there and think, oh, this one's for Instagram,
Oh, I see.
this one's for YouTube.
God, and okay, we'll get on to licensing and things in a bit, but maybe we'll show Todd's video. Does anyone have any questions for now, though, for Henry, for this one, or we wait to the end? Does anyone have any burning questions? Miguel?
Yeah, congratulations. It was fantastic. I wanted to ask you, like, when you were filming, how much did you know of what you were recording? Like, did you know that birth was happening and so on, or yeah?
That's a good question. So I knew they were Risso's dolphins, and I knew what I was recording in the moment was particularly rare, just given that they're rarely seen, and also, I mean, you could see from like the dolphin's fin, it was kind of tilted over, and you could see like the fetal folds. So when it sits in the uterus, it's like that, and you could still see the folds on its side. So I knew it was really young. But in terms of kind of their habits and what they feed on, the shot with the midwife, so like the other dolphin that was with it, I didn't know at the time that was the aunt. So yeah, basically acting like a midwife. So I knew a little bit about it, but had to do a lot of research when I got back to kind of understand more about their behaviour.
A lot of people who go into natural history, wildlife filming, tend to come from like a biology or a sort of animal behaviour background, because so much of what you're capturing is dependent on the behaviour. And listening to you, seems like you've got quite a lot of expertise. Where did you get that from? Did you have it when you set off on the mission? Was it something you always were a bird watcher, or what's your background on that?
Yeah, so my dad's like really big into his wildlife. He's been doing it all his life, and I've always had like a interest in it from a very young age. So like over the years, I've just picked up things, but I've just never really made it into a career in that. So I mean, yeah, I've been interested in wildlife for 20, 25 years. So I've just picked it up. And like I said, it's nothing. Like I haven't done any degree or biology degree, anything like that. So yeah, it's just what I've acquired over the last few years.
I think that's a really interesting point, though, for everyone. You probably have skills that you've picked up over your life with your families or with your hobbies or things that you never know that could be, really important to what you're doing later on, whether that's languages or cooking or, a particular sport. All of these things can really be really useful. I mean, you've had that as well, haven't you? Stuff that you did before, it really plays into what you're doing now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think whatever it is that you are interested in, there will be other people out there who are interested in it too. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, this one here has got a spectacular following. So let's watch one of his videos. Again, please, please, please don't try this at home.
Sometimes you get to do something epically cool, and that was it. I mean, look at this. It is awesome. Hi, it's Todd from Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here, and today I'm back with the most bonkers payload for my trebuchet ever. 100 crossbow bolts. What a bundle. Did they ever do this? Well, probably not, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Is it going to be fun? I think it probably will be. That's why I'm doing it. So how am I doing it? Because obviously you want this to go flying as a big bundle, because if you threw them separate, just as a pile of bolts, they wouldn't go anywhere. They're like 10, 15 meters or something. So these are all bundled up, 6 kilos of crossbow bolts. They're tied up with a nice tight cord here that I've wound up with a stick to make it really tight. And then some fuse here that's tying the whole lot together. That is the link that's going to burn out. This is a modern firework fuse, I get it. But they had fuse. This wouldn't have been a problem for them to do had they wanted to do it. And then this green leaf here, it's just to stop my bolts burning, really. Let's load it up, shoot it, see what we got. Here we go. Go! Whoa! Whoa, my goodness me! I left it too long, but we are so going again. But whoa, that was very cool. How about that? I'm a lucky guy. I love my work. But sometimes you get to do something epically cool, and that was it. It went really high. It broke apart too early, so I'm going to delay it a bit more next time. Broke apart too early, but it spread out, the darts straightened up, they came down, the whole field was just a sea of little white dots. Some even went beyond our men-at-arms, some went very, very close, didn't hit them, obviously. We're going to go again. We're going to go again. But I have to ask myself, human nature hasn't changed. If things are this cool now, they were this cool then. People want cool stuff. So when I said that they didn't do it, maybe they did. Bundle of darts, second time. Go! Rubbish! I know what's happened. It's broken apart. The actual burning fuse link has broken apart because the forces are so big as it spins it around. It's effectively allowing the bundle to spread out. Simple solution, we're going to go again, more fuse. Here we go again. Go. Yo! Oh, that's nice. That is nice. Check this out. Now that is somewhere you do not want to be standing. Needless to say, we missed our guys again. I mean, look at this. It is awesome. It's just a sea of little white dots. All 100 of them. Worked beautifully. Range is a bit short, as ever. I am coming around to the idea maybe these things were a bit more mobile than I thought. But this, as a result, is awesome. I love awesome. They loved awesome. Would they have done it? Let's go talk about it. Well, I did enjoy that, and I could tell you I have a good time doing this sort of stuff. But the question is, does it have any historical relevance at all? Did they throw darts out of trebuchets? Big ones, small ones, any kind of ones? Well, this is an expensive, crafted item. You have to ask yourself, would they bother? Really, would they bother? Because a big basket of rocks, not that I've managed to do that successfully, but a basket of rocks or a big rock is going to be far, far more devastating than these relatively light objects coming down from, okay, high up, but they're relatively light. They're not going to do that much damage, not compared to a 10-kilo rock. They're expensive. Rocks are free. Why would you do it? But the thing is, why it gets all a bit mixed up with this kind of thing is, I did joke about it at the beginning, but, you know, we do like cool things, and we've always liked cool things. Why does that change? But the other thing is, there is a manuscript picture by Mariano Taccola, and I think it's 1434, quite clearly shows a couple of whopping big darts, you know, as high as me, sitting in the launch chute of a trebuchet, ready to go. So you could say, well, clearly they did then. But Mariano Taccola is a pretty fanciful guy. A lot of the stuff that he drew clearly never existed except in his head, and maybe that's one of them. So I wouldn't take that as gospel that they had darts for trebuchets. And again, why would you? Because, you know, a 50-kilo rock coming out of a trebuchet is going to do an awful lot more damage than, I don't know, a 10-kilo dart or a 20-kilo dart, or even 3 or 4 of them all bundled together. And also, again, explicitly, I will say, throw the same object again, you understand your machine. You start changing the objects that you throw, life becomes really difficult. And boy, have I evidenced that over the last few films, trying to mess about with different things. But here's the thing. If they had thrown bundles of darts, what would they have thrown? I suspect not expensive things like this, so I have very crudely made this. A shaft which has just been split out of a billet of timber, dead quick. Bit of old shirt poked in a hole in the end, dead quick. Big wodge of clay just left to dry out, make some divots in the shaft there just to hold it a little bit, mix in some goat hair, horse hair, that'll hold it in, you know, bind it, and then just a very simple and evil blacksmith's dart. Really quite nasty. You know, you can make 50 of these in an afternoon. It's not a big job. Anyway, do they work? Let's throw it and find out. See you another time. Yes, they do.
Amazing. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, well done. Just get the lights, sorry. Well, I mean, I have a gazillion questions about that one. Okay. Okay, so why did you pick to do that? What was the question that you wanted to solve? How did it come about? Was it a suggestion or something that you'd wanted to do always?
My honest answer is I have no idea.
Okay.
Actually. So that's a trebuchet that I built for a job for the launch of Age of Empires 12 or something, I can't remember, computer game, whatever it was. So they wanted it for 45 minutes, and then after that it was rubbish. So I got paid to take it away again, which is what I did, which was nice. So I ended up with the trebuchet, and I just started throwing things with it, which is what it does. And
Is that
bowling balls, yeah, industry standard for trebuchets,
Okay.
small ones.
Good to know.
Yeah, they whistle as well. It's great because of the finger holes. Yeah, yeah. So I started throwing balls, and that's kind of fun. But then you may as well throw something else, and you end up with a lot of comments in that people leave. One thing just leads to another, you know. And I've got no idea if I came up with the idea or somebody else said, "Why don't you throw a bundle of darts?" And whatever. Let's say they did, and you read it and you go, "Yeah, why not? Let's try that."
Okay. So you making the darts, did you make them? Do you have a team who makes them? How does that work?
Those ones, it would have been somebody in the workshop. So I've got 2 people who work for me in the workshop as well. So somebody else would have made those. The clay one at the end, then I would have made that. Yeah.
That looked vicious.
Yeah, it's meant to be. It's actually a fishing harpoon, that little spike, medieval fishing harpoon.
And you mentioned horsehair, and like, how did you know what materials would bind it? And
I actually don't. Well, most of my research comes from either customers or just experience over the years, or I don't specifically go out to research how you bind clay. It's just if you are making molds for cannons, or you are doing a Wattendorp house, or anything like that, then or belt buckles, for instance, you can't just use clay. You have to introduce hair in some way to hold it together. So it's just a
Okay, I am learning so much today. This is crazy. Can I ask one more question before I go to Teresa? The land that you're on, like, is that your land? Because doing these kind of things
Oh, it
just
pays well. No, not that well. No, it is. I bought some wood off a farmer 20 years ago, and he has been relentlessly and fabulously lovely to me ever
Oh my
since.
God, that's amazing.
So that's been parked there for 3 years, and it just sits there, and I just go down and use it and go away again. And he works around it.
That's incredible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, anyway, sorry, Teresa, I know I've got so many questions.
Really fascinating. I was also wondering, you know, obviously because you're dealing with weapons and all that, like how do you, like what measurements do you take to, you know, make sure no one gets hurt, or, you know, no one is around who might not know what you're doing and
so,
get hurt?
so it's private land.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it in the local park.
Yeah.
It's private land for one thing, and it's kind of like a dead end of the farm. So you know that nobody's around. You kind of know roughly what range you're going to be doing. Beyond that, those things can and do shoot backwards or straight up sometimes. So you've got to be aware of that. And then I think because my old life was special effects, so it was explosives, dangerous things, stuff that you don't really fully understand often. But you do know there's danger involved. You get what we used to call the danger radar. Yeah. It's like, this one's absolutely fine. This one, not sure about. So I was standing right next to that when it shot, because even if that bundle had gone up and broken apart, those things are light enough that, you know, you can just do that and you'll be all right. But some of the other things that I throw, I definitely put a very long rope on it, and I would not be standing next to it.
Yeah. I was also wondering, and I mean, I ask you, Todd, I ask you first, and then you, Henry, especially, you know, when you edit your videos afterwards, is there a specific structure you have in mind, or something, you know, where you're like, oh, this is the intro, this has to be, this is how I get clicks, not necessarily clicks, but this is how I keep the attention of the audience?
Yeah, so what I'd say first of all is I don't edit my films. We were talking about this earlier, actually, and I don't edit mine. I work with a friend who used to be an editor, and then there's other people I know who also edit. So he kind of like gives the creative overview a little bit. But I've been doing it long enough, I know roughly what I want. So the structure is you put a hook at the beginning of 2 or 3 interesting things that even you can give quite a lot away. It's like no secret that those land in the field. Because if you give something away that's good enough, people are going to go, well, how did you get there? So you get the hook at the beginning that make people want to watch, because it is that first 2 or 3 seconds that they're going to skip on if it doesn't work for them. So you get that hook at the beginning, and then the structure I generally try to follow is tell them what they're going to see, show them what it is, and then tell them what they've seen, and conclude it, because YouTube, an awful lot of it is listened to, it's not watched, for instance. So yeah, make sure your sound's very good. And that's roughly the structure that I do. In terms of how long it's going to be, it depends just on the content, because you've got to keep the pace up, because at the point where people are getting bored, then they're going to be switching off. So even though it is, you know, probably doesn't interest you lot very much, but there are people out there who are interested. You've still got a pace that you've got to keep up. Yeah, that's it. And then you know, I'm like everybody else. You do a take and you're a bit like, yeah, it's all right. You know, they went up, they came down. And then you just make sure it's the take where you've got lots of energy. People love energy.
Yeah. What about you, Henry? Have you got anything in mind in regards to structure when you do shoot your videos?
Not normally, because with wildlife, you never really know what you're going to see. So I can't do what Todd does and kind of plan it out meticulously. It's more of just finding what you want to film, and then maybe using different shots you got from different days to kind of create that story. So like with that Risso's dolphin film, it was all of like the dolphin shot was from the same day, but then all of like the other wildlife at the start was kind of throughout the course of the previous 6 days.
Oh, I see.
So I cheated, essentially.
Oh, I see.
Can I ask you, you mentioned the sound has to be really good. Can I ask you guys about sound effects, actually? Because, I mean, I presume, I mean, you know, those dolphins were, as you say, like half a mile from you, and there were some lovely sounds. How did you, do you work with a particular library, or how do you do it?
So I actually did those sound effects myself. When I say myself, I got it from the library.
I was going to because Foley, you'd be like,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but I now actually work with a friend of mine who I've met recently, and he's kind of in a similar position to me in that he's just like at the start of his career, but he does sound design. So he basically reached out to me and said, do you need anyone to do sound effects? And I said, yes, because I'm really bad at it. And so now he does all the sound effects to my videos, and in return he can put it on his website and his social medias and that kind of thing. And then if I win a film competition, then he's obviously in the credits. So it works out well for him. But yeah, sound effects, it's difficult, and it takes a lot of time, but he's really good at it. So
but it makes such a difference.
it makes a huge difference, yeah. And it's quite often overlooked by people because they think that like the visuals is kind of 90% of the output. But yeah, sounds really important.
Yeah. And do you use sound effects, or all those sounds you're getting? Are you getting those live from your various?
Yeah, basically I don't use effects.
Amazing. Okay.
Because I think because what I do is it's meant to be real. I plan it to an extent, but actually I have to react to what happens. So, whatever the bolt bundle fell apart early. That wasn't deliberate. That just happened. So in that sense, it's quite reactive. But it's all about telling you what you've seen. And if I put noises on that aren't real, then it doesn't work. So,
can I ask as well? Obviously, you need resources to make films. So, how much do you decide to kind of invest in kit or materials? Does that just depend on the month and how well you guys are doing, or do you go, right, this is my strategy for the year, this is my budget for the year for everything, or is it more kind of like a fly by the seat of your pants kind of?
The second bit, definitely.
Okay.
It's difficult. It's a balancing act because you're doing multiple different jobs, trying to like earn money through like multiple different revenue streams. So you can't put all of your time into filming because then you just have like a backlog of footage and not be able to do anything with it. So the way I do it is like at the start of every week, just make a plan of how much time I'm going to invest in filming, editing, sending out emails, trying to license footage. That's how I do it week by week, essentially. So nothing too fancy.
No, I don't really plan. I'm not a planner in life.
Okay.
So
Totally the opposite what I've been teaching you.
well, we're in a very different position
Yeah.
to Henry in the sense that we have a thriving company behind us that effectively can fund my purchases, which is quite nice, and I justify them to my financial controller. But no, so it depends. It also depends what happens, because I happened to make something a couple of weeks ago that I didn't have any way of measuring the speed that it was going to be shooting at. And I've got stuff that will measure faster things, but it won't measure anything as slow as that. And so I had to go out and buy a bit of kit. But I know that I've got some more films coming up where it's going to be useful. So I just justify it that way, really.
Amazing. It's really complex, isn't it? That balancing act of, how much do you invest? I mean, it's the same for any company. It's like, yeah, it's tough when you're small. Doesn't matter how good you are, it's still tough, and cash flow is king. Yeah, totally. Well, should we watch 2 more clips? There's a beautiful fox who went for a swim, and then I think we have a historical unboxing that will scare the pants off anyone.
My name's Henry Kirkwood, and I'm a wildlife filmmaker. Join me in my quest to find the best of Britain's most elusive wildlife.
Well, that definitely hit. Hi, it's Todd at Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here, and I'm back with Matt Easton of Scholar Gladiatoria.
Yeah.
But importantly, we're actually back at Matt and Lucy Easton's Fight Camp 21, which is a weekend of training for all kinds of martial arts and everything you can ever imagine. But I've got an unboxing video for Matt, and he doesn't know anything about it. 6 months ago, Matt made a film, great film on his channel, Scholar Gladiatoria, go check it out, about 10 weird weapons from the medieval era. Now, there are an awful lot of weird weapons in the medieval era. I thought this is a great opportunity. I can make the stuff, Matt not so good. He can use the stuff, me not so good. So this is just a perfect combination. So you don't know what I'm proposing, Matt.
I haven't got a clue. No, I don't know whether it's one of those 10 or whether
It is one of those 10. So here is your unboxing video.
Right. Okay.
Let's see what we got. And the idea is, if this works out, we're going to run quite a few films. Not that you know that, but if you're happy for this, where I make weird stuff from the medieval era, and Matt tests it out, and then we talk about it. So what you got, Matt?
I wonder if the viewers have guessed from the shape of this.
I don't know. It's a funny one.
So, have you guessed? There you go. So it's a flail.
It is a flail, and it's already had my knuckles. I can tell you that.
Really?
Yeah. So my very rough user guide is, because it's quite end heavy.
Yeah.
Your natural thing is that what you do is you put that hand up there to help support the weight.
Oh, okay.
And then you lift it up. I'm not even going to do it.
No,
And then you lift your hand up, and that happens. So that is my first word of warning.
Yeah, so keep your hands down the bottom. Yeah, so these weapons, we know that they were used between the 14th and the 16th centuries, famously by the Hussites, but we also see landsknechts later with forms of flail, and they're shown in a few of the treatises that we work from in HEMA. So Pallas Sector Mare is one of the famous ones, 16th century, mid-16th century treatise. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because you want to know how far that comes
Yeah,
down.
you see, if I had that, I would want a
Put
discard
marker,
on it.
Yeah, or put a marker,
Yeah.
or even a notch or something.
Something.
But what I would say is a lot of using these is about keeping the acceleration and deceleration with them, so they shouldn't come back and hit the shaft
Right.
anyway. So
It's just rank
when you
amateurs
swing-
like me, yeah.
When you swing the thing, it should be almost.
God, it's nasty, isn't
It
it?
should be almost straight out when it's swinging, and then it only at the end you decelerate it.
Yeah,
You sort of
no, I can see it. It's
accelerate
stopping.
and decelerate, and it shouldn't be coming and hitting its own shaft because it damages.
Yeah.
As well. Then.
But again, it's one of those things about weapons now, is that you train with a blunt sword and you expect your sword to last for 3 years, and you might do a bit of deburring and stuff.
Yeah.
If you need to change the shaft on that historically after a battle, so what?
Yeah.
You know, really, so what? It's just a bit of wood.
Yeah.
Going back, you're saying that there are treatises about how to use these things, because for me, I really struggled to see how you can use it in a measured way. This, for me, almost seems like an all or nothing weapon. You are fully committing to a blow.
Yeah, so I mean you are, but at the same time, a lot of the principles from other pole weapon use comes into it as well. They'll stand in guard positions whereby they will be able to use the rest of the shaft for potentially pushing aside or parrying incoming thrusts from a spear or something like that. But equally, if you've hit someone with the weapon, you might then step in close to use the back end of the weapon as well. So I think sometimes people get so fixated on this bit because that's the novelty.
Yeah.
They forget that this is still a lump of wood.
Very good.
You know, even if you held it backwards, you could still hit someone with the back end of it somehow. But yeah, principally,
I think that's a really good point, actually, is that it is a weapon in its own right with a bit of extra nastiness on the end.
It's an unusual tool. But the thing is, we've also got to remember these fencing treatises are not necessarily showing typical use of a weapon.
Yeah.
They're showing one-on-one, the gentry,
Yeah.
who are like, oh, let's have a bout with some.
Oh, you think? Do you honestly think it is a little bit of that?
100%, yeah, because there's
Like
one,
getting back to their roots and
yeah, in
doing
Pallas
what the
Sector Mare, they have a fight just with 2 large lumps of wood as well. And
Just because they can.
Yeah. So,
particularly interested me, and that is why our shield is here, is the sectional end of it. You can do things that you can't do with a regular pole weapon.
Yeah.
And one of those things quite clearly is it wants to wrap itself around things. It wants to come over the top of a shield. It wants to...
around someone's weapon.
Or,
that they're trying to
or around
block
their
with.
back, for instance, you know, where they might be lesser armoured, or the back of the legs even,
Yeah.
you know, all those kind of nastiness. So this is not particularly well mounted, but that in a way is slightly deliberate that you can pull it. Can you have a quick go at hooking it and seeing if it comes?
Yeah, absolutely. So if that shield's in front of me and I just want to batter it for some reason,
Yep.
then look at this thing. Yeah,
Well.
it's quite easy to hit it quite hard.
Right, we'll stop it there. We'll stop it there. Thank you very much, Todd. Okay, amazing. Let me just get this back up. Okay. Okay. Right. A million questions again. I don't know. I'll start with you, you, Henry, this time, if that's okay. What did you film the fox on? Can I get camera geeky? Like, what camera did you have? What lens did you have? And how were you set? And what was your position?
Yeah, so again, that just came out of nowhere. I wasn't planning to see fox. It just kind of happened in front of me. So I was in a hide, just looking for anything that popped in front of me. And I heard like a rustling down in the reeds. And yeah, the fox was just like right at the edge of the lake. And I didn't know that foxes swam, and I think a lot of people that watched the video didn't realise that foxes swam either. And it swam over to the island, picked up a goose's egg, or swan egg, it was something big, and then swam back. And then I put the footage on YouTube. Didn't do too well in terms of views, but it got like, I licensed it to 2 production companies that were looking specifically for swimming foxes, and obviously because there's not much, or any, I don't know, not much at all, swimming fox footage. I managed to license it through YouTube. So they found the footage on YouTube and contacted me via that as well.
Amazing. What lens did you have on?
So lenses. So
Yeah.
I used a Sony A7S III, which was my primary camera,
Yeah.
and a 200-600 millimeter lens.
Okay. All right. And so you were in a hide.
Yeah.
Was it in a wildlife reserve, a natural park, or like a wetlands, or what?
Yeah. So it was Hamwell, RSPB Hamwell. So yeah, like a RSPB reserve.
Okay.
Maybe
So at least
still.
you were kind of toasty yourself. You weren't kind of like in the water.
No, I wasn't in the
Okay,
water.
okay.
No, but there were actually other people in the hide who were taking photos, and every time the hide or they'd move, yeah, you can see where I'm going with this. So I did have to say, as it was about to swim, I was like, guys, please stay still, because they were just like really heavy-footed, and because they were just shooting photos, it doesn't matter because it's just like a one shot that they need. But if you're shooting video, you need like that sturdy base. So yeah, they didn't actually move, so I managed to get the shot.
Amazing. And can I also just ask, if you don't mind, why did you decide to leave it as is, quite natural, and not put any narration, or not put any story, or give any context? You left it quite natural.
Yeah, it's just easier for me, really. No, it's,
Okay.
sometimes,
Busy week.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think sometimes it's better with just natural sounds. I don't think it needed music. I don't think it needed narrating, because you can see what's going on. It doesn't really need any of that. And I just want it to be a short clip, so I think it was all right without music and just natural sounds.
Can I quickly? Oh, did you want to ask?
No, I just said it was, yeah.
Can I ask you, because you briefly mentioned about the materials being licensed or the footage being licensed. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think we spoke earlier about it briefly. It's a really tricky thing to get your head around, because it's really niche, and if you don't have any experience in how to go about licensing something, which I didn't, it's like, well, where do I even start? So I found a friend that had been in the industry for 10 years, and he was just really good at like giving up his time to me. And I sent him the contract, and he basically said, you need to be wary of this. Like, are you getting the right amount? Like, what licensing terms is it? Where can they use it? And after you do it a few times, you kind of get the gist of like how much you should be charging, like the length that you should be giving away, and under what licensing terms. But it's just a bit of a minefield, and you have to be careful, because production companies will just try and get the footage for as cheap as possible and like the best licensing deals. So yeah, it's tricky.
It's interesting. And I was also wondering, I know, Henry, you haven't been as long doing content creation online, but anyways, have you two noticed any changes that have happened, within the last year, or is there anything where you say, oh, suddenly my videos weren't doing as well as they did before? Or
Yeah. So, I don't know, I've been putting out videos for about 13 years. And what YouTube wants in terms of the length of the videos has changed. So you'll find that, I can't even remember now, but maybe 5 or 6 years ago, really long videos, sort of like 40, 50 minutes, were quite in vogue. and then they started to go out. And then what happened to me, I'm going to say about January 23, is I had a very strong back catalogue of films that paid me really quite well. And, you know, you might sort of fall out of fashion, but you'd expect to go quite slowly. And it was just over a 3-day period in January, I went down to about a third of the income and about a third of the viewing figures over a 2-day period. And it was obviously some big change that they'd done with their algorithms. Never got to the bottom of it really. But some of my big viewing, because your films get views because people find them or because YouTube puts them in front of people and recommends them. And again, in that same period, a couple of very big films that I'd done, again, their viewing figures just fell off the cliff. So 23rd of January 23 or whatever it was, suddenly they weren't being watched anymore. You know? So that was quite noticeable.
Yeah, and you didn't know why or how, like probably because of that change from longer to
Yeah, I
shorter.
mean, you're never going to get to the bottom of it. No, it wasn't length actually in that case. I don't know.
It's just YouTube.
Just
Yeah.
YouTube doing something. But,
Yeah.
but it was a very significant change. And other content creators like Matt that you saw there reported the same thing. So we all know each other, so we all had a
Yeah.
bit of a chat about it.
Interesting. What about you, Henry? Have you noticed?
Yeah, so from just speaking about natural history, there's definitely like a big shift in terms of your typical blue chip David Attenborough type thing that you used to see for like the past 20 years. And now there's a big change in that they're looking for the actual story about how it was filmed. So there's a few shows now that almost like follow a cameraman and they're just talking to the camera about how they're trying to get the shot. And I think I can see why it's happened, because that 95% of people aren't really that interested in the actual wildlife, but they would be interested in about like how they got the shot. So that Risso's dolphin film that I showed, I thought it was like really good, and the filming, like I was really happy with it. But had I been filming myself and I took up the drone and like had a camera over my shoulder saying like, oh, I've just seen the dolphin, like not being born, but like you can see how new it is, and just kind of like my reaction, then I think that just would have appealed to a lot more people than the way I filmed it. So that's what I would do in the future, just to kind of do like more behind the scenes type thing.
Yeah, the question I've got is about sound on the Fox's video, because you are shooting slow-mo, but you've got natural sound, but that can't be natural sound. Where are you getting the sounds from and how are you using them?
Yeah, so that was before I worked with the sound editor. So that was from Upbeat, they're called.
Right.
Don't know if you've heard of it. But yeah, they just have like a library of all the sounds.
What, fox snuffling?
That was me again.
Was it?
No, it wasn't. That was from the same library. I think that was a dog sniffing, not a fox sniffing. But I just
Right.
typed in dog sniffing and
Right.
that's how I got it.
Okay.
And then you just kind of like place it in the timeline where you think it would work.
I mean, just what you mentioned about filming yourself. So it's not enough just to do the actual content. They also want to see you as a personality.
Yeah.
So obviously, I've seen on his channel there's some great videos like with you with your dad and things like that. And we'll watch a last clip. How do you feel about that? Like the tables being turned on you and you having to kind of do that for your hustle?
Yeah, it's so difficult. And like, this was going to be a question I was going to ask Todd, because he comes across so energetic and so naturally. And for anyone that's been in front of a camera, some people it just comes naturally to, and I think it probably does with you, but it's so difficult to sit in front of a camera and be energetic. It's like you almost just have to learn it, or you just have it naturally. So I find it really difficult personally, which is why I'd much rather just be shooting with a camera, but I need to learn that. And if I want to grow and be in front of a camera, it's just something you have to improve on.
Have there been any cons of that? I mean, obviously, social media is not always a welcoming, nice place. You know, music, criticism aside. But have you noticed any comments, or does it now just, do you not care if there are comments, or are the comments really positive? Like, what kind of?
There hasn't been so many. The negative comments have been on music or just people looking for something to complain about. So.
Loads of those around.
Yeah, there's a lot. And I think people like this fishermen, so like with the tuna stuff, there'd just be people saying, oh, like, you shouldn't be catching them, which is fair enough. Or there's just always people out there that are trying to take you down a peg or two, but you just have to block it out. I just think there's nothing else you can really do. Like you said, like, you can't engage with them because they'll just win every time and they're looking for reactions. So just got to ignore it as best you can.
Yeah, and I mean, it's slightly off kilter, but you don't engage with the nasty comments. And if they're particularly unpleasant, if they're particularly racist or sexist or whatever it is, even mildly so, you just kind of let it go. Because if they spot that you're taking the stuff down, they will come back and swamp you. So it's only the really offensive stuff, which I thankfully get very little of. But it's only the really offensive stuff that I actually will then take down. But what I almost never do is actually interact with it. You know, I'd never say, my God, how can you think that? Just like quietly, just.
Yeah. No fuel to that fire.
No.
Just you mentioned the presenting, Henry. Well, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Todd has done presenting quite a lot on TV. So he did Scrap Heap Challenge back in the day, and I've filmed actually with Todd on a number of occasions, being the guy who blows something up or drops a piano on a series of pistons made out of bicycle pumps or stuff like that. So I think it would just be worth getting a little bit of that, because it's interesting, the contrast between traditional TV, where you've got like a whole agenda and there's a script and there's a kind of format and Richard Hammond's involved and all of that, and then just doing it off your own back.
So I think my background, because I did special effects for, how long it was, I don't know, 8 years or something. You're all part of the machine. Front of camera, back of camera, sound, lighting, whatever, you're all part of the machine. And that thing over there is nothing to be worried about. It's just another spanner, you know? And so I think that transition, if you like, I then started not really presenting, but doing little bits where I'm doing my special effects or engineering or something on TV. So yes, I'm front of camera, but I've been around them for the last 8 years anyway. So they're just nothing. So they've never worried me in that sense. I don't have a massive, as you may have discovered, sense of dignity, so I couldn't care less. Another thing is that editors never want you to look bad. They always want you to look good. And that's when I work with people like one of the archers earlier, Joe, very nervous guy. And he's now worked with me enough that it's all right. But at the beginning, he's obsessed by how he's going to come across. And it's just, you're going to come across well, because if you look crap, I'll look crap. You know, and so yeah, it's that. And then there's, I don't know if you know him, but there's a YouTuber called Alex Steele who does blacksmithing stuff. Really young, very, very switched on, and incredibly annoying, I thought. Sorry, Alex. But a lovely guy. I'll say that too, it's true. But he's so bouncy and so energetic and so full of energy. And then the camera goes off and you just chat to him, he's just completely normal. And the camera goes on, he's like, boom. And yeah, you learn from that. I mean, because nobody wants to watch something that's dead and static on TV. Sometimes they go too far the other way, but people like people to bounce around. It works, really.
And sorry if I asked it as well, like knowing, of course, what audience potentially want, do you feel like pressure to, like you said, Henry, as well, like now you try to show your face with, you know, also let people in a little bit more than you might have done before?
What, be a bit more bouncy?
No, but like you show your face or...
Yeah, I just think it's becoming more important. And yeah, like I said, like it's all changing and people want to see the person, how it was filmed, rather than just what the camera sees. It's just a shift that's happening really quickly, over the past couple of years.
Well, I think it makes things more real and relatable and less elitist in a way, because it's not just some people with some amazing camera kit and an amazing location that you could never be. Now it's just a bloke like you.
Yeah.
You know.
And do you think, from your interaction with it, do you think YouTube and, certainly YouTube, is it really going to continue being this successful and this influential and this helpful to you guys in your businesses? Or do you see anything else coming on the horizon?
It's going to grow. It's going to continue to grow, like without a doubt. And I don't know. I think there's more and more people that watch it, and I think there's got like a younger audience, and as people get older, there's going to be more and more people to watch it. I think it's not surprising because you can type into YouTube anything you want and there'll be a 30-minute clip to an hour that you can watch, and you just can't get that anywhere else. So I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger, and I think that's why I'm going to put a lot of my time and focus into YouTube.
I'd completely agree with that as well. Even if YouTube disappears, a clone will appear, something much the same. It's just too useful as a consumer. If I want to know how to tile my bathroom or do Foxy Swim.
All the time.
It's too useful as that for 8 billion people's questions, and that's an awful lot of films needed to satisfy 8 billion people's questions.
Yeah, totally. Well, before we watch, there's a last clip each. Before we watch that and kind of get into some advice or Q&A again, just really wanted to, are there any influencers or any other content creators? Obviously, Alex, you mentioned Alex. Is there anyone else that you kind of watch and go, God, that's great, or I got some good advice from anyone? I think you mentioned when we were talking before, Mr. Beast, there were some bits of kind of key information that might be helpful for these guys thinking about creating content.
So specifically to natural history, there's a guy called Bertie Gregory, and he's early 30s, and he's incredible in front of the camera, and a very, very good camera operator as well. And he's got his own show called Bertie Gregory's Extreme Adventures, and he's just doing exactly kind of what I said, like going out, filming wildlife, talking to the camera, showing how he got the shot, and he is just very, very good at what he does. So I kind of look at his stuff, Bertie Gregory.
I don't really, actually. I'm quite insular about what I do. I don't watch what other people get up to very much unless somebody tells me that there's a really good video out there. The one that we were referring to earlier was just about Mr. Beast, and it was somebody who put me onto that. I don't watch his stuff, but he put a video or a compilation video of advice of his of how to make social media. And I think for me, the most important aspect of that was that you can spend half a day making a film and it gets 10,000 views, or you can spend a whole day making a film and you put more effort in and it gets 100,000 views. And it's very simple maths to work out, put the whole day in and just make a really good film. And every time you do a film, try and make it better than the last one in just one little way, whether it's doing a bit of extra sound, or colour grading it better, or whatever it might be, but just try and do something today better than you did yesterday. It's partly really obvious, but I think great advice, really.
Good advice for everything across the board, probably.
Yeah.
But have you done that though, then gone the extra mile, and then the video hasn't moved, and you're just like, why is it just static?
Yeah, I was whinging about this earlier, actually. So the last film I put out was in December, and I put out, and I haven't done anything since, I think because I kind of just lost the will a bit, really, and work's been a bit busy, and that's a good excuse. And the reason for it was I put, I think it's total of 14 days of labour into 2 films, which I thought should do brilliantly back in November. And they were both, so one of them was playing with the trebuchet, and it had 7 incendiary charges, so 7 burning lumps. And I'm never going to do this again, so I stood in the target zone and filmed them coming in, and I thought, well, that's going to get views, isn't it? And nobody could care less. And after probably £1,000, 14 days of labour and near-death experience, and everybody just turned their back, and I just kind of thought, you know what can I do for YouTube that is going to work? So, yeah, stuff doesn't always work.
God. Okay. Well, that's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, shall we watch one more clip each? There's a tuna, and I think we've got some swords from you, and then we'll take some questions.
They're coming. Here they come, Roots. There's a load of garfish jumping out. Is a tuna going to go for them? Oh, they're coming straight towards us. Oh, I just missed it. That tuna came to within 4 meters from the shore. I was following the garfish.
It left it a bit late, that one. Pity.
Straight behind you, Roops. You're facing the wrong way. Oh, there's two of them. Oh! No way! Roops is in the middle of a feeding frenzy! Oh my God, Roops! Are you okay? Oh my God, they're all around him and it went right beside
What a
him.
hoot!
Oh. I can't believe he's still on his kayak. How is he still in one piece?
I don't believe it. Here they come again.
Oh, Roops, here they come again. I was so scared for Roops' life there. When those garfish were charging towards him. Whoa! It just jumped right by Roops!
Would you believe that? It nearly jumped into my kayak. Amazed what? Oh, I could see them coming. I'd see the little fish coming, so something was going to happen. Here they come, really close.
The tuna were targeting garfish, long, thin, silver fish that attempted to escape by skipping across the surface of the water. They often shoaled in large numbers. The tuna used different techniques to catch their prey. Some would take a slower, more measured approach. Whilst others chose a more assertive strategy.
This is absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? It really is. It's absolutely extraordinary.
Oh, look at all of these right in close. Following one, it's all by himself. Whoa!
Atlantic bluefin tuna get promoted to giant status when they reach 150 kilograms or more. These fish are known for their speed.
and are capable of swimming at speeds of up to 75 kilometers per hour, making them one of the fastest fish in the ocean.
That one's got a stunning blue, sky blue metallic stripe down its side. So they're not just unbelievably dramatic and explosive fish, they're also extremely beautiful creatures.
Oh. Hi, it's Todd from Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here, and today we're going to have a look at these historically accurate falchions, basically trying to work out what they do and what they don't do. And there is no better way of doing that than doing that. So I've got a ballistic gel torso here, and I'm going to dress it up in progressive layers of armor. So we're going to put a fabric gambeson on it. What do they do? We'll put mail on it. What do they do? We'll put plate armor on it. Will they do anything at all? And what is the difference between, quite sharp and really sharp? How much of a difference does that make to this guy at the end of the day? Are falchions the half sword, half axe I was originally told 30 years ago when I started reenacting? Or are they more specialized than that? Can you use them for camp activities? Can you chop wood, sharpen stakes with them? But the thing is, people used to think that these things were brutally heavy. But they're not. They look like they are. But the thing is, you've got a really clever, really sophisticated tapering system going on here. So it brings the weight further back towards the hand. And what it does is it makes these things absolutely brutal, yes, but not brutally heavy. So what are falchions really like if they're not massively heavy? Well, let's start with the self-evident truth. And that is, they're tools. They're tools for soldiers to do their job. And any tool that is badly designed or doesn't do the job won't get used. So the thing is, if you can't use it for fighting, there is something just not right. And massively heavy is definitely not what they were. I have 3 falchions here, all from different time periods, all available from toddcutler.com. So we have the cleaver falchion, 13th, 14th century, clip point falchion, 14th century, Wakefield hanger, 15th century. But to be honest, it's the great cleaving blades that I wanted to have a look at today. And so the Wakefield hanger with a more traditionally shaped and sized blade, we're just going to cast to one side. Today is not its day. Both blades are broad. And in the case of the cleaver falchion, really broad. And that means that there would be a heck of a lot of weight out front if this blade was thick. That would make the whole thing unmaneuverable. You just wouldn't be able to use it. And so actually, they do something really quite clever. It starts thick, but very rapidly thins down. And so here it's about 3.5 millimeters. By the time you get here, it's about 2, maybe a little bit more. And the most famous sword of this type is the Conyers falchion in Durham Cathedral. It's longer, it's deeper. But at this point here, at the widest section of the blade, it's only 1.2 millimeters thick, thinner than a steel ruler. And then we have the clip point here. And this is a slightly more robust version of a falchion, but still the principles still apply, that it's thicker at the guard here, drops rapidly, and then comes to a steady taper. And what that means, as I said before, is they are maneuverable. You can use them. They are not the heavy, bulky things they look like they are. So let's start the testing. First up, are they any good for camp activities? Well, I am certainly not an accomplished swordsman, but we've got a stick in front of us here, about 25 mil diameter. Let's see what we do. Let's go up in thickness. So we're up at about 35 millimeters now. So that last one obviously is split out now, and it's at the limit of what I can do. Like I said, I'm no swordsman. But are they bush clearing tools? Well, no, they're not. I mean, they're too delicate for that. That's not what they're for. Can they do it? Yeah, kind of. And what about sharpening defensive stakes for the camp? We've all seen that scene in The 13th Warrior where Antonio Banderas just comes up and he cleaves the 3-inch stake straight through, perfectly sharp point. But I'm not sure that's the reality. So first of all, you've got to strike with the center of percussion. It's not on the tip, it's not back here. It's, just in a little bit, you'll find it. But the point is, that's where it cuts best. Now, it does do it. I can't deny it. But it's a little bit awkward. It's especially awkward with a longer blade like this, because the center of percussion is further forward. It's just not the tool for the job. And the other thing is, swords absolutely hate that rapid deceleration. It's not good for them. And the people who own them know that. But the people who own them also own axes. And an axe, perfectly suited to the job. And the thing is, that, for a swordsman, is going to be far less valuable in the battle tomorrow than their very precious sword. They're not going to do it. Could you? Kind of. Would you? No, not in a million.
Right. Okay, so final questions. My God, so many questions. Literally could talk to you guys all day. I know, but you have to go. I know that, so we'll wrap up. But can I just ask the tuna? I mean, spectacular. Did you know they were going to be there? Was that just perchance? Did you?
On that occasion, I did, yeah. So I'd filmed them a few times before, and they hadn't been filmed like that before. So that was kind of, I just tried to do as much with that information as I possibly could. Mm. So I just asked Dad to just sit in the middle of where I thought they might be, and reluctantly he said yes, because like, they're absolutely huge, like they're 3 meters long. And so this is what I was saying earlier. I think the fact that it had like a human element in it, and like I mic'd him up and mic'd myself up, and showed like behind the scenes footage, just made it more relatable to the vast majority of people. So yeah, I mean, it did really well on my socials, and like a lot came out of that as well. So I was pretty happy with how it turned out.
And can I just say, like, your dad, oh.
Yeah, everyone prefers my dad to me, so I'm used to that. He's just got like a really good voice, and like he's like very good in front of a camera. So yeah, he's very good at what he does.
Are you guys going to continue making videos together then, do you think?
Hopefully, that's the plan. I'm speaking to a director at the moment, and we're trying to do like a series together. But it's just difficult to kind of get it seen by the right people, essentially.
Well, I'm sure it'll happen. It's too good not to happen, right?
I think so.
Exactly, exactly. And, okay, swords, amazing. It's really, I mean, I think it's so fascinating that you make so many different things. How did you know which swords? Did you have the swords in mind in particular? Did you have was it the challenge in particular, or was it the swords that you wanted to try? Or
no, in that case, that grim-looking ballistic gel torso. So that's sort of a military police object for analysing bullet wounds, basically. That was left there by another YouTube company that had come to commission me to do some filming with them. So they'd left that behind. So I may as well do something with it. And I don't know why I decided to do that, but I imagine I was probably pushed by the office to try and sell product. And so those swords were part of the product that we sell. So I had something to use them on, something to do it with. So yeah, I just used the swords. So that's an unusual thing for me, that I was actually not directly pushing a product that we sell, but using a product that we sell in the film. Bad editing, by the way. I did a lot of repeating on that. Should have been much snappier watching that back.
But yeah, okay, amazing. Tracy, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was actually I was thinking, especially because you mentioned, sometimes your videos do really well and sometimes they don't. You don't really know why that is. So how do you find the motivation, when you do like a video and you think, oh, everyone's gonna love it, and then it doesn't get the expected viewing numbers? Like, how do you kind of like motivate yourself to kind of like just get back to it? And
I think you mentioned that earlier, didn't you? It's difficult because
Demotivating.
Yeah, it's demotivating, and yeah, exactly that. And you'll spend like a week putting this video together that you think is going to be really good, and you're really happy with, but then it just flops. I guess you just got to keep going. There's nothing really else.
I think
to do.
what's particularly annoying as well is it just flops, and you really, realistically have no idea why. You might have a slight idea that you could have done this better, but you don't know.
It's just being resilient and trying again.
Essentially, yes.
Can I just ask, you mentioned you got commissioned by some to do something. Can you talk about that? Because that's also something that can happen, right? If you're putting out YouTube, you can get commissioned to do something that isn't your own necessarily original idea or something.
Yeah, so there's a pay-to-subscribe YouTube channel called History Hit that was started by Dan Snow. So it's a very, very professional organisation and well funded, and so they hire me to do days of filming with them from time to time, doing whatever it was. And this, I think that one was we had to have every weapon that you can possibly throw at somebody done, and so we just talked our way through them, and then they left that at the end. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, amazing. Should we open it up? Guys, do you have any questions? I mean, I presume most of you here are going to be doing YouTube content at some point if you're not already doing it, and it would be lovely to take advantage of these two brilliant creators.
Could I just say something quickly?
Yes.
We've talked almost exclusively actually about YouTube, but we both do Instagram as well and other things. So we don't just do the YouTube if you want to direct
Absolutely,
questions in other ways.
So, Todd, you mentioned kind of a drop in revenue when the kind of algorithm changed, and Henry, you mentioned that you kind of predict that YouTube's only going to grow. Do you think it works against creators that they're not particularly transparent about how their algorithm works, or do you think that if they were more transparent, that it might create a higher level of competition and might work against you? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if you take myself and Henry as an example with that question, I'm better resourced than Henry. I've got the company behind me, and that's fine. If I can know how that algorithm works, or I can hire some algorithm magician to do that, I'll wipe the floor with Henry, and he'll never get a chance because there'll always be somebody better funded than him. So, very annoying as it is that it's so opaque, I think it's probably actually for the best because it keeps everybody making an effort to try and do new and vigorous and exciting content, and not giving the people who are at the top of the tree the chance to squash the people at the bottom to stop them ever coming up. I mean, how would you feel about that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I like it the way it is. I don't
Annoying as it is.
Yeah, I mean it is, but I ultimately believe that like if you make good content, you're going to get views. I think that there's an element of luck in it, and there definitely is because you make great videos, but obviously they don't get the views and you think they would. But I ultimately believe like if you make really good videos, eventually like you'll grow.
Well, there was a very nice comment. I think it was in the same thing I saw by Mr. Beast at this time, and it was myself and lots of other sort of content creators that I know were all scrabbling around going, "What the heck has happened to all our revenue?" And obviously, some of that filtered back and was current to Mr. Beast as well. And he said in one of his videos, he just went, "Look, the bottom line is, if your content was good, people would be watching it. Stop blaming the algorithm, and make good content." And actually, you know, I want to poke him in the eye, but he's probably right. You know, it's make better content.
It's hard.
I had a question in particular for Todd because I just think using your craft and making content out of it is really interesting. I'm especially interested in your special effects career. I was just wondering if you could expand a bit on that, about like how you started and why you decided to leave that, and what kind of things you were doing then, and how much that's impacted the stuff that you're doing now.
Lucky things happen to you in life. Don't ignore them, grab them and run with it, is about the size of it. Say yes to things rather than no. So I did an arts degree or product design degree. I happened to talk to somebody who happened to give me a phone number to work in special effects effectively. I just rang them, massive bit of luck. But then you got to work. And special effects has been absolutely instrumental in my life because it embodies a different way of working that you just do not find in any other industry or outside of media, to be honest. And that is simply that a job has to be done absolutely perfectly. It has to absolutely be delivered. And it has to be what you said it was going to be. And there is just no other option to it. And, you'll get a builder in and they go, oh, sorry, I couldn't make it. I was doing something else. Film and TV, it will be there and it will be done. And I've extended that through. So I'm making a good living off a craft activity that almost nobody makes a good living out of craft activities. And I'd put a lot of that down to the special effects background. But I did that from about 94, 93, with a little bit being a product designer, 93 through to about 2001. Working in small agencies in London. So you've got like the top tier ones and then you've got the second tier. Second tier tend to be less financed and less specialist, which means you get to do everything. And you get to do everything under more pressure with less resources. It was just brilliant. Really, really good way to learn. And then I left because I was making more and more knives and I just couldn't keep the two jobs on. And I didn't want to live in London. My wife didn't want to live in London. And special effects was London-based. But then I carried it on for another 6 or 7 years doing bits and pieces for people. Specialist engineering for TV shows and things like that. I think the last job I did was probably about 10 years ago. And now it's, just history. So.
I suppose this one's more for Henry because Todd, you said like YouTube for you is mostly a hobby or like because you have the sort of company behind you. Do you see social media for you as like a means to an end? So like, do you think your goal is more to get into becoming like in the industry, or do you now see it as like an actual career in itself that you're trying to build?
Yeah, I think at the moment I'm just using it as marketing material to become a camera operator. That's what I see at the moment. However, I do see there being an opportunity to open up to potentially make a full-time living off of it. But at the moment, there's very, very few people that can do that. So I'm just like building a bit of a following to potentially do that in the future. But for the moment, I'm just using it as like, almost as like a website and say, look, I filmed this, this and this. If you want to get in contact with me, here are the details. And this is what I filmed, basically. So yeah, at the moment, just marketing, but maybe in the future, something bigger might come out of it, but don't know at the moment.
Sorry, I was going to say, there's something that Henry and I were talking about earlier, is that one of the difficulties that Henry has is it takes him a long time to film anything because you have to sit there and wait for the thing to happen. And that comes back to the YouTube algorithm thing, is they seem to like you putting out films about every 3 or 4 days. And that's when they reward you the most. And so reward you the most financially and reward you the most in viewer response. And that actually conflicts with your ability to put the work out, really.
Yeah, so we were saying that someone, if they wanted to just put out a video of them talking, you could record that within an hour and then edit it. It's just like cutting it together, basically, and you could put out a 30-minute video in a day. But that tuna video that is actually 18 minutes long, the full version, took me about 2 weeks to put together. And so you're putting 2 weeks of your time to put an 18-minute video together. So it's very difficult to like pump out footage that other people can do, just because it takes ages to film the wildlife. Then you've got to color grade it, get the sound effects, the music, the voiceover. The whole process is just very drawn out. So it takes a long time.
Yes, I guess as well, you've mentioned throughout the conversation we had today, you're collaborating with other people because I guess you said, Todd, you have someone editing for you, right? Because it's just so time extensive. And you said, Henry, you're working with a sound guy to have some support in that area as well. I guess it's also time consuming for...
That's it, yeah. It does it always takes such a long time, but you've obviously got someone that does the editing, but I've got to edit it myself, which kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. You have to like really plan your time, and I guess I need to improve on that. But yeah, it's just for wildlife filmmaking, it just takes a long time to put a video together.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's also a good example that, like, if you're in the creative industries and you're putting out stuff, you will never just have one job. I mean, those days are over. You know, I mean, you have one. You will film, you will edit, you will produce. You know, and you'll be your own medic when you get injured out on the rocks. You know, I mean, these things are not always, you know, don't always go to plan. But I think that's a really good thing. You have to be self-sufficient, but then also be open to collaborating with good people whenever the opportunity comes along, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, my experience is that there are people who want to collaborate with you. They just want to do it to get experience.
Yeah.
Say yes, basically.
Say yes. Ferris Bueller's philosophy of life, I think. I think that's a good one. Are there any other questions?
It was just kind of like that. Obviously, you both mentioned that you're also on Instagram and like TikTok as well. Would you say that at the minute it's kind of essential to be on those to build a following on YouTube? Would you say you get a lot of use from kind of, it's easier to maybe go viral on the other platforms and then they maybe direct new followers and viewers over to your YouTube channel? Would you say you could have maybe built what you have without them, or would you say they are essential at the minute to kind of feed people into, if that makes sense?
Do you want to go?
Yeah, you might disagree with what I'm going to say, but I find that if someone's on Instagram and you want to direct them towards your YouTube, so you'll put like a link in the description, they've just very, very rarely click on it. I find that if someone's on Instagram, they're on Instagram, they're not going to click on another link that will bring up a different social media page. That's just from my experience, because you can actually look at the analytics, and if you put something on a story of just a link to YouTube and it has 2,500 views, and you look at how many people have clicked on it, it's about 10. So they just want to doom scroll and they just want to flick, and they don't want to have to open a link that takes them to a different site. That's just my opinion. What do you think?
I don't know, I haven't looked. So I was on YouTube way before the other stuff, and we don't do TikTok at all, really. We do Instagram and Facebook Reels, or whatever they're called on Facebook, I don't know. And interestingly, the content, we just put the same thing onto both platforms. The content generally does much better on Facebook than it does for Instagram, and it seems to be because my audience tends to be a bit older and the audience for Facebook tends to be a bit older. Seems to be something like that. But YouTube was there first for me, so yes is the bottom line. I don't know how much it impacts, but I think that, I mean, that's the thing about social media, is it's just a mesh of everything going everywhere. And it's probably very difficult to really work out. I mean, it looks like you've done a better job than me, but it just do everything, everywhere, all the time, I think is, and let it take care of itself, really.
That's very good. Any last words of advice? I mean, I think that's a brilliant word. Henry, any last words of advice?
I'd just say that I was saying this to you earlier, I don't think you need a big following on social media at all to do well in the industry. But what I would say is that producers and directors, if they want to find out about you, will search on your Instagram, or well, actually probably Instagram mainly. So even if you don't have like a big following, I'd still keep it up to date and say what you've been working on and like your achievements and that kind of thing, because you'd be surprised at how many producers will type in such and such and then have a look at what you've been working on and then like get in contact with you because of that. So don't feel like you need a big following at all. But yeah, don't feel like you need a big following basically to make it in the industry, is what I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing's very fickle in a way, in that sense. So put out whatever it is that you want to put out, probably however you want to put it out. And mostly you'll be ignored because that's the nature of it. And hopefully something that you do will chime with somebody, and then you go. I mean, one of my most successful films was literally, I've got nothing to do for half an hour and there was a guy with a camera and we went and did it. And it did brilliantly, annoyingly. Wish I could replicate it.
Oh, amazing. Well, listen, thank you guys. Thank you so much for giving up your time and coming to talk to us. Well done.
Pleasure. Thank you, Henry. Well done.